Have you ever really stopped to think about what law actually is? I mean, we hear the word all the time, but it's like this invisible architecture holding our entire society together. So, what is it, really? And why do we need it so badly? Let's dig in. But first, just a quick note before we get started. This explainer was created by Zira Maznam Sainin of UITM CJ. All right, to really wrap our heads around why law is so important, I think the best way to start is with a little thought experiment. Let's imagine a world without it. Seriously, just picture it for a second. What if every single rule, every regulation, every law just vanished? Poofed, gone overnight. What would our world actually look like? Well, the answer is pretty intense. It wouldn't just be a little messy. The general consensus is that without law, society would pretty much descend into complete and utter chaos, total disorganization. I mean, think about it. People could just do whatever they wanted, right? With absolutely no control, no rules governing how we interact. All of the things we take for granted, from driving on the right side of the road to knowing our money is safe in a bank, all of that is built on law. Without it, it's just a free-for-all. So if a world without law is total chaos, then law must be the exact opposite, right? It's the set of rules that brings order to the game of how we all live together. So what is law, officially? Well, at its most basic, it's the collection of rules and regulations that we all agree on for any particular issue. You can think of it as the playbook that lawyers use to argue a case, and as the ultimate guide for judges when they have to make those really tough decisions. But what do these rules actually do? Well, you can break it down into four main jobs. First, they set our duties and obligations, the things we have to do. Second, they create prohibitions, the things we absolutely cannot do. Third, they provide punishments, consequences for breaking the rules. And fourth, and this one is super important, they provide relief for people who've been injured or wronged. Okay, so we've got these really important rules. But where do they come from? Did someone just write them all down in one giant book? Well, no. It's actually a bit more complicated and, honestly, a lot more interesting than that. In a legal system like the one in Malaysia, laws don't just pop out of thin air. They come from a bunch of different sources, and they're all organized in a clear hierarchy, kind of like a pyramid where some laws are more powerful than others. At the absolute tippy top of that pyramid is the federal constitution. And this isn't just another law, it is the supreme law of the land. Here's the most important part. If any other law gets passed that goes against what the Constitution says, the Constitution wins. Every single time. That other law is considered invalid. Now, the next level down on our pyramid is something we call legislation. These are the laws made by the people we elect, in Parliament for the whole country, and in the state legislative assemblies for each individual state. Then there's another major source called common law, and this one is fascinating. This isn't law written down by politicians. Nope. This law is built up over hundreds of years from the actual decisions made by judges in English courts. The whole idea is simple. Similar cases should be decided in similar ways. We call that precedent, and it's all about being fair and consistent. And the legal system gets even more detailed to reflect the community itself. It also includes specific legal frameworks like Islamic law, which applies to Muslims in areas like family matters, and native law for the indigenous communities in Sabah and Sarawak. It's not a one-size-fits-all system. Okay, so we've seen what a lawless world looks like, we know what law is, and we know where it comes from. Let's bring it all home and ask that one big question. Why does any of this really matter to you and me? I think this is the single most important idea to get. Law isn't some abstract thing that exists out there in the universe. It's a human invention. It's made by people, for people, based on the needs and the goals of the community it's supposed to serve. And when you boil it all down, its main purpose is actually pretty simple but incredibly profound: to help us all live together in a way that's peaceful, orderly, and harmonious. That's the whole point. When you really think about it, law is probably the most powerful and influential tool we have to guide how we all act, to shape our social behavior, and ultimately to protect the entire community. It's working all around us every single day. And that leads us to a final, really important question. If laws are made for the community, by the community, then what's our role in shaping them? How do we make sure they keep evolving to serve the people they're meant to protect? Something to think about.